Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and this is a show where we sit around and we talk about beautiful things. We talk about games, we talk about gaming, we talk about board games, role-playing games, card games, novels, books, things that excite us, things that bring joy to our lives, and things that inspire beauty in them. They inspire us to be better people. They inspire us to be better people, game masters, players, all sorts of better humans. Ah, thanks, John. You say that because we have, the matching look. So I remember distinctly sitting in a basement in the early 90s, and maybe it was the mid 90s, and Star Trek V came on. And I'm sitting there with several of my friends. We've actually were playing Riffs, and we took a break, and Star Trek V was on. And we all unanimously agreed that this was the worst Star Trek movie. Like, the plot is bad. It doesn't really fit the feel of the Star Trek universe, the search for God. The acting is super campy at times. And then there was this pause. And I don't remember who it was. I would like to think it was me. But remembering how I was in high school, I'm going to guess it was my friend Adam who said, "Yeah, but we're going to watch it, right?" And we did. And we laughed and we groused because here's the thing, even though it was a bad movie, like an objectively bad movie, we loved it. There were things we appreciated about it. We loved the campfire scene. We loved the focus on the trio as they're getting older, like dealing with that. We didn't understand it because, right, we were in the prime of our youth. We were going to live forever. We were immortal. But we loved it, even for how bad it was. And that story kind of frames what I want to talk about. I talk a lot about beauty on the show. I start every show with a discussion of beauty. And back at episode 100, we did a look on beauty and why I think beauty will save the world. I truly do. I don't think it's going to be truth, and I don't think it's going to be goodness. I think it's going to be beauty that makes us better people, makes us better humans, makes us a better country, makes us a better world. Beauty is that third part of the 3 points of kind of the ancient understanding of the world. And without it, when that falls away, you're left with truth and goodness. When you have 2 points, you have an extreme on either end. So let's talk about beauty. Let's talk about an anti-fan. So let's define our terms here. An anti-fan is somebody who engages with a fandom with the express purpose of tearing and burning everything down. They find nothing good going on in that fandom. They just doom scroll and complain about it. Even if something is good, they refuse to look at the good points. They focus on what they hate. And we've always had anti-fans. I don't think it's possible to exist without anti-fans, but they've usually been relegated to professional critics and misanthropes who sit at the back of the game store and don't get to play games with anybody. But with the rise of social media, we're able to interact more often and more frequently, and with much more vitriol than we would ever interact with someone face to face. And this has given rise to a lancing of our darker impulses. And what they've discovered is that doom scrolling gets clicks. It feeds a dopamine loop that is really not good for us. And if you've not heard the term doom scrolling, it's jumping on social media to do nothing but flip through things that you hate. And don't get me wrong, I am not some saint who is above all of this. Check my Discord messages. There's some friends of mine who will send around the usual suspects and get a rise out of them. There's a person I enjoy. I don't think hate watching is the right term, but he really spins me up, and I really like to get aggravated with this person on YouTube, but I'm doing better. Sometimes I binge a bunch of his videos, and then it's not good. So why is being an anti-fan on the right media is part of it, but I also think that in recent years, it's been very hard not to notice corporations taking stands that I don't think they believe in, whether it's taking stands on one side or the other. I'm not trying to get political here. But they're taking stands, and they basically assume that if you're not with them, you're against them. And they use language like that. And so it's very easy to be like, well, they don't like me anymore. I'm going to hate on them. And I've had people say to me, but this company hates me. And it's weird to me. Like, it's weird to me to think that some companies love me because they say the things they think I want them to say, and some companies hate me because they don't. Companies don't give a crap about us as entities or as individuals. Companies are looking at the bottom line, and bottom lines are driven by numbers. And yeah, Mark, ignoring the trolls is the way to go. Focus on the things you like. And so it gives rise to this brigading movement that gives us a new sense of identity. And actually, this Saturday, Evan and I are coming back to Exploring Glorantha, baby. And we're going to be talking about tribalism in Glorantha and why people get really invested in their factions. I do think oversaturation contributes as well, because when we were a small community, it was kind of like, well, it is us versus them. Right? The amount of people playing role-playing games at my high school meant that we were all friends, even though the Rifts people and the Torg people never really could see eye to eye on the other person's game. So, as this grows, and I fall into it as well, the thing that now this company can do no good. Not that they can do no wrong, although there are people out there who, the guy I really enjoy, who spins me up, says that the company that they love can do no wrong. Even when they've had major debacles, they can do no wrong. But I think the opposite is true. Like, we see giant movements on the internet of this fandom's company can do nothing right. And I think we have fallen into the trap of the professional critic. Because the professional critic gets paid to tell us what's wrong with something. It's not like the old Siskel and Eberts. Ben and I were talking about this. Siskel and Ebert, you could tell, I mean, they gave great reviews to awful movies because they loved them so much. And C.S. Lewis, in an experiment on criticism, says, in order to truly be a critic, you have to love something. You have to love something warts and all so that you can say, I love this, look at this wart. And I love it in spite of, or perhaps because of this wart. And we've lost that. We've lost the ability to appreciate the beauty. We've also, I think, part of this is the understanding that, I think this is corporate messaging broadly that has affected this, that everything has to be for everyone at all the time. We used to understand a fundamental truth that was, you can please some of the people all of the time, or you can please all of the people some of the time, But you can never please all of the people all of the time. And so as games become more focused on trying to get as many people in, they lean onto this marketing of, well, if you're not with us, you're against us. We can please all of the people, except those people over there who are just completely unreasonable. And it leads to anti-fandom. It leads to, well, now I hate everything about this thing. Even if they do something good. Even if they produce a product that was never intended for me. Or they produce a product that is intended for me. Damn the torpedoes. Full steam ahead. Nothing good here. There is a saint from Mount Athos, and big thanks to Ben for sharing this with me as I was preparing my notes this morning, kind of feeling a little anxious about sharing all of this with you. And I'm going to summarize it. This is from Saint Paisios of Mount Athos on his little essay on good and evil thoughts. That there, if you were to go and ask a fly where, and I'm paraphrasing, if you're going to go ask a fly, hey, where are all the flowers here? They'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but look at all of this garbage that we have over here that I've been hovering around all day. If you're going to ask a honeybee the same thing, say, hey, where's all the filth in the area? He would be like, what are you talking about, man? There's nothing but flowers here around me. And St. Paisios said that there are some people who are just inherently flies, and there are some people who are just inherently honeybees. And that's cool. Like, I agree with that. I think there are some of us who are like, yeah, this movie was, or this game company was awful, but you know what I really liked about it? That scene where Kirk and Spock and McCoy are roasting marshmallows around the campfire. Or, hey, I may not have liked that new Marvel movie, but you know what? I really enjoyed X, Y, and Z. Or, man, it's been a while since I've enjoyed a D&D product, but I'm really excited that Planescape is back. Some people are honeybees. Some people are flies. But here's the thing. Beauty and focusing on the things you like will cause you to drift more into the honeybee zone of our lives. They will, focusing on the things that are beautiful, the things that you like, help us enjoy our life in a way that is completely different. Here's the thing. I watched the Barbie movie with my wife. I was not a fan. I don't think I was supposed to be a fan. I don't think it was directed at me. But there were some scenes in there that I really enjoyed. And in sharing that experience with my wife, I got to bond with my wife. She thought the thing was hysterical, start to finish. I did not. But there were some parts that I really enjoyed. I assume if I were to go and, watch Hellraiser with her, she would find parts that she liked, and overall, most of it she would not like. But we would have that experience of, hey, we both share this thing, and we share it together, and here's something beautiful that we can talk about. We talk about games that are the lingua franca of our industry, things like Dungeons and Dragons, standard foundational pillars of nerddom, Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. And the thing is, they have drifted far from where I was at. And I just may not be the target market of that. And it sucks. And I hope it comes around. But if I sit and talk about how much I hate on these things all day, one, I'm going to be a more bitter person. Two, I'm going to bring everyone else, either I'm going to drive the people I love away from me or make them more bitter people. And that's just a horrifying thought to me. So, am I saying you have to love everything that is being put out? No! Am I saying you can't criticize things? No. I think criticizing things and critiquing things are how things get better. Any good artist wants to be critiqued. But I'm saying how we go about it is important. It's why focusing on games that I love and things that are beautiful is so important to me here on the show. I don't want you to come to the show and walk away with, man, I was right, that thing's garbage. I want you to come away from the shows that I do going, hey, I've not heard of this thing, but man, it sounds fun. I want to go read it, play it, run it. So, how do we do this? I don't know, man. It's tough. I've been pondering it for a while. Yes, Tink, there are creators and there are destroyers. This is a great example from my own personal life. Dennis Detweiler wrote Delta Green, and I followed him on Twitter for the longest time. And I don't follow him on Twitter anymore because I rabidly disagree with, I'd say 90% of what he was posting at the time. Some of it I disagreed with, some of it I just found offensive. Personally, his right to say whatever he wants on Twitter. However, he said something that was so beautiful that it stuck with me, and I tell it to everyone that I can when they need to hear it. Because you know what? I needed to hear it. And I thank you, Dennis. If this video ever gets to you, thank you for saying this. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, you can either create or you can respond to critics. Let's call them anti-fans now. And the thing is, an anti-fan's job full-time online is to tear things down. You can't compete with that as a creator. You can't create and compete with that as a creator. So you've got to make a decision. Do I invest in what is beautiful and creative, or do I set that aside to engage the anti-fan? I think the other thing that's important is try and find at least one thing that you're enjoying about whatever is going on in your fandom. I'm not saying you have to agree with everything, but I guarantee if you look, there's got to be at least one thing going on. And that's a start. Even if that one thing is, man, this TV show is awful. Thank God I have the books. I'm going to go read the books. That's how I've had to approach Rings of Power and The Wheel of Time and The Witcher. There are things I enjoy about the shows, but they're not the same level of enjoyment that I have with the books. I had another thought, and I just lost it. We're talking about, this is the problem with doing the video essay. You kind of get it all in your head and prepare it, and then if you lose a track. I was talking about creative and destructing. Oh, the last thing is practice a discipline of talking about things on their own merit or in what I will call comparative language. I would avoid punching down. We've kind of hit a culture where a lot of marketing is, this thing is crap, our thing is better. And if you watch YouTube for any amount of time, that's the tack a lot of YouTubers take. Well, this game is awful because it does X, Y, and Z, and my game, or the game I love, is better because it does A, B, and C. That is a dangerous tack to take. Because what it establishes is we can't build up anything. And when I hear people talk with language of that, my initial response is, I don't know that I necessarily want to look at your game, because if the only thing you can say is, my game is better when I denigrate all other games, then I don't know if your game is better. Like, if you have to burn everything down so that your game stands up. If you recommend something to me because it's far better than X, Y, and Z, which is garbage, you're not building something new. You're tearing everything else down so that you're the last turd on the crap heap, to quote how I explained Nefandus in my mage game to my players. I remember seeing someone on Twitter go, well, my book isn't getting the facing it deserves at bookstores because of writers like Tolkien and Jordan, why can't we just take them off the shelves or reduce their shelf space? Then my book would stand out. Take two of the most successful fantasy writers, and I mean, yeah, like if we remove Tolkien and Jordan, then a lot more books would stand out because they've set a very high watermark. It's really, really tough to learn to focus on the beauty, because here's the thing, beauty's a discipline. The appreciation of beauty is a discipline, and the disciplines are hard. They're tough. But hopefully, I've outlined why they're beneficial, or at least why the anti-fan engagement isn't. I think when we focus on the beautiful, we become better people. We can become people that other people want to be around. We can become people that lift up those around us. And at the end of the day, if we want the world to change, that's the way to do it. By making ourselves and those around us better people, who then go on to make other people better people. Which is really my hope with Iconic Production. Yeah, we talk about games. Games I'm reading right now. We had a deep dive on the Monster Manual for AD&D, and a wonderful read-through of the Horror Companion that just came in. We become better parents, better spouses, better friends, better teachers, better game masters. People who want to come to our games become better people. That's the goal, right? I can't say that it's quantifiably effective. But man, I know I feel better as a person, as a human, when I focus on the beauty, as opposed to focusing on the doom scrolling. So, that was my half of the show. Now I'm going to go scroll through and kind of hit some of these. I see a lot of ice cream talk. Delicious, delicious. It's a good point about movies, Grom. Went and saw A Man Called Otto and loved it. Loved A Man Called Otto. Wasn't what I expected. Far more gut-wrenching than I anticipated. I was expecting Tom Hanks to be snarky and sarcastic the whole movie, and it turned out to be his journey into being a better person. Not disappointed. Just my joke about this is the guy I want to be when I grow up doesn't ring as solid. And I came out of it, I remember talking with Brad about it, going, man, what I loved most about this movie was it felt like a movie from my childhood. And what I meant by that was, there used to be a time where studios would invest in small movies that they knew were only going to capture a small segment of the market in between the big blockbuster films. And now we've hit a point where every film has become so expensive to produce and so over the top that if it's not a blockbuster, it's a failure. I long for the days of quirky little fun movies that come out that surprise me because the studio gave them a chance, because basically they said, hey, you know, we don't need to make a $200 million movie or $500 million or, you know, $1 billion duology. We have the money to say, hey, that blockbuster paid for 6 or 8 smaller films that we could put out. In a lot of ways, that's what gaming is like too, right? You get 1 or 2 big Kickstarters in hopes that some other Kickstarters fund that are a little bit more quirky, a little bit more personal, not necessarily with mass market appeal. And here's the thing, John, I'm way back on the comments. You're talking about Rings of Power. It was all right as far as you can tell. And that's fine. I have a lot of friends who enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed the first season of Wheel of Time. She hasn't read the Wheel of Time books. And here's the thing. She has a phrase that I love. I'm going to do my best not to yuck someone else's yum. If you guys enjoyed it, that's awesome. There are people who enjoy Fate and Powered by the Apocalypse. They're not my cup of tea, game-wise. I was talking with a good friend of mine this morning about the Critical Role game, Daggerheart, and what we've seen about it, what our thoughts on it. We both kind of said it doesn't sound like a game for us, but we hope it does well going forward. Yes, Grom, that's the beauty of Siskel and Ebert's approach to movies. They they took each as its own encapsulated little piece of art, and um, yeah. Ooh, Ben, this is a good comment here. Dennis was actually working as an executive at Warner Brothers when they put out both Man of Steel, which I agree, I loved Man of Steel, and Fury Road, which I also loved. And fear of focus groups. Yeah, it was Padre, only six of the seven deadly sins. I think you may have miscounted. I think all seven of the deadly sins are being focused on in marketing. We used to have fairy tales which told us why you shouldn't make deals that promise you eternal youth or sexual prowess or all the money in the world. And instead, now we have marketing which tells us the exact opposite. You're right, John Doom. Ryan Reynolds is the guy for Snark. Uh, Star Trek 2 is my favorite of the original Star Trek movies, Grom Doom or Grom, with Star Trek 6 being the second of my favorite, and 4 being the third of the original ones. My wife does not agree with me. She thinks 4 is the best Star Trek movie. And I still love her. I may... No, I'm not going to make that joke. I think she would appreciate it, but I don't know that I'm going to toss that one out here. Tracy Sizemore of the upcoming $1 million Kickstarter Han Cluster. We need to make sure that happens for her, John. When Han Cluster comes out, just so you know, expect a lot of behind the screen to be focused on that. And in fact, if you want to hear Tracy talk about her game, the Han Cluster, you should tune into Savage Universe tonight, because that's who I'm talking with. I'm talking with Tracy about the Han Cluster and about the Sci-Fi Companion, which is selling like hotcakes. If hotcakes were a thing that sold quickly on Kickstarter, you should go check that out. On Kickstarter right now, Pinnacle's Savage Worlds Science Fiction Companion. It does have a little adventure in there written by yours truly. I got to do the BattleTech inspired adventure, and I'm very, very excited about that. I know, Grom, I just need to throw money at Tracy. So, that's what I had for Beauty and the Anti-Fan. Now, if you stuck with this long, I appreciate it. And I wanted to show off something that I got to show off to the patrons yesterday. Patrons of Iconic Production. We have a Patreon over at Iconic Production. If you back, you get some rewards for helping support the show. And we have a new setup coming March 1st. None of the tiers are going to change. But I wanted to kind of go over something new we are offering on to all of the Iconic Patreon backers. It doesn't matter whether you're backing at $1 or you're backing at our $50 tier. We are going to be offering something new. But before that, if you back at our $20 or higher tier, we're going to get into a once-a-month Zoom call and just hang out and talk. We'll do like whiskey and hang out once a month. And then once a quarter, I'm going to run an adventure for everybody at the $20 tier or higher. So if that's something you'd be interested in, check that out over at patreon.com/iconic. But what I am so excited to show off, let's see if I, let's see, I can do this. There we go. They changed the button on the editor mode for me. And I think I've got this correct. Nope, wrong one. Here we go. So what we're going to be doing is Bob Crum and I have been working on a project. And this project that we're working on is something that we're calling Bare Bones. Right here. Bare Bones Adventures. And what it's going to be is it's going to be a one-page dungeon. One-page adventure site, adventure site's probably a better way to do it. It's going to be a one-page adventure site, and it's going to come with notes. It's going to come with a monster, a big bad evil guy. It's going to come with a magic item, and we're giving it away to everyone at the Patreon. Doesn't matter what level you are. We're not tiering this. We're not gatekeeping this. If you back the Patreon, you will get a bare bones adventure roughly once a month. We're not committing to once a month. All that we would ask is if you're a member of the Patreon, when you get this, go and review it on DriveThruRPG. We're not going to charge patrons for this. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 pages of adventures and design and 4 to 6 adventurers and character sheets. Bob's designed it so you can print out the character sheets and fold it in a weird way and get a little character sheet folio with hooks that go into the adventure. So I'm going to show off a little of this. Oh yeah, you got to go back Cocaine Owlbear, Grom. Go do that. So it right now is written the first. We've got the first 5 or 6 in the works. First 2 are done. Second 2 are in the middle of being finished up art-wise. Last 2 are in the pre-planning stage. And if it does well on DriveThru, our plan is to do a Kickstarter for a little zine version of this. But I figured I would show off some of the art that Bob has put together. We're going to do. It's right now written for 5th edition, but I'm in the process of applying for an ACE license, and so there may be a Savage Worlds port that will be available, hopefully, in the near future. So the first adventure that we have is called The Storm-Racked Tower of the Embittered Carnifex. And the goal is that these are going to be modules. Like, you can just pick them up and drop them in your world. They're going to have just the barest hint of an outer world beyond what's going on. But hopefully you can just pick them up and drop them in your Savage Worlds or your OSE or your Hyperborea or your D&D game and run with it. So here is what the first dungeon looks like. It's the Stormrack Tower of the Embittered Carnifex. You can see Bob chopped a lot of details into it. And the reason it looks the way it does is because all of the room notes fit on one page in the white space around the adventure. And then here's the art. Oh no, that's the art for the hag. We'll talk about that in a second. I think this is the one I want. So there you've got all of the pieces of art that Bob did for this adventure. You've got the Executioner's Blade, which is the magic item. Yes, exactly, Padre. It is a nod to old One Eye. Well done. You've got the Executioner and his Iron Maiden golems standing next to him. And then next month in April, we're going to be releasing, I'm not going to say the title of it yet, but I'm going to show the map off and I'm going to show the adventure or the adversary for that month. But this is our forest adventure. My favorite thing is the little Sphinx-like Baba Yaga hut in the upper, I think that's the upper left-hand corner for you guys. And then this is the big bad evil of that adventure. It's a fungal-infected hag who wields the skull of a unicorn as a flail. Bob knocked them out of the park. So, that is what we have planned for Iconic. Patrons, again, you're going to get the free link every month to the PDFs. Going forward, we just wanted to offer that to you as a thank you for all of your support. If you wouldn't mind jumping over and doing a review, I'll put that in the notes when we send out the initial adventure. We'd appreciate it. Kind of helps the algorithm say, hey, look at this cool new thing. Much like subscribing on YouTube, following us on Twitch, giving a thumbs up, or leaving a comment kind of helps the algorithm say, hey, this is worthy content. You might be interested in checking it out. I will be on Savage Universe tonight. We're actually starting a series of look at sci-fi contributors to Savage Worlds in honor of the Sci-Fi Companion launching on Kickstarter and doing so well. And this Saturday, we'll be back with Exploring Glorantha. But next week, I don't remember what we're covering next week. My mind just went blank. So, until then, we'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, we will be back. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I am JM. This has been Behind the Screen. I hope you all have a wonderful day and can find some beauty in the things you enjoy. Until next time, have a good one.